Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So to understand your testimony, is it your testimony that Amber and Mr. Depp arrived together in Australia in February of 2015?
Initially, together I don't think so. I think Mr. Depp arrived ahead of Ms. Heard, actually.
Mr. Depp arrived first, correct?
I think so, yeah.
And isn't it true that Ms. Heard, Amber didn't arrive until March 5th, 2015 to Australia?
I can't remember the date she arrived, to be honest.
But she could have arrived March 5th, 2015. Isn't that true?
Objection. Foundation speculation.
I'll allow it if you can answer it.
Sorry, what was the question?
Ms. Heard could have arrived on March 5th, 2015, correct?
It's possible, I suppose.
And isn't it true then that you didn't see any arguments between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp before the injury that occurred to Mr. Depp's finger in Australia?
I saw them argue.
You saw them argue when they came back, when they came back in April, correct?
I certainly saw them argue in April and through most of the months they were there, yes.
But you don't remember, you can't recall any arguments in February or March of 2015 between Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, correct?
Specific days? Not necessarily, no.
Right, so that you don't know, you can't say that there were any arguments before you came to the house on March 8th, 2015, correct?
I think there were, I mean...
Excuse me, say that again?
I think there were.
But you don't even know when she arrived, correct?
Specifically, the day, not necessarily, no.
Okay. And you said when you arrived at the house on March 8th, when you eventually found the finger, it was wrapped in paper, is that right?
Wrapped, I mean, it was loosely wrapped. The paper was opened by that point, the blood had dried up, and it was sitting in the sort of nest of this paper, yes.
So like someone had put the finger in a piece of paper?
I don't know. I mean, it was in that piece of paper.
It was in a piece of paper, okay. So, but again, like someone had wrapped it up, is that right?
I don't know. It was within that scrunched up piece of paper, kitchen paper, tissue.
So it was in kitchen paper, is that right?
Or tissue paper. It was white with a lot of blood on it.
So like a paper towel?
Like a piece of kitchen towel.
When you say paper. Kitchen towel, our language is made, even though we both speak English, I may say a little different. It's like a paper towel?
Yeah, like kitchen paper, kitchen towel, yes,
okay.
Like a tissue.
And was there that sort of paper towel in the kitchen at the house at the time?
Yes, in both areas, the kitchen and the bar.
Okay. You said you were in Australia starting in February of 2015, correct?
Correct. I arrived on the 4th of February.
And Mr. Depp arrived sometime after that, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you see Marilyn Manson while you were there?
No, I didn't.
You don't know if Mr. Depp was with Marilyn Manson in late February, early March 2015?
Objection, foundation, speculation, relevance.
I'm just asking if he saw, he said he saw him every day, so I was asking if he saw.
I'll allow the question if you can answer it, that's fine.
Marilyn Manson didn't come to the house. I didn't see him at any point.
Do you know if Mr. Depp left to be with Marilyn Manson?
I don't know. I didn't always know where he was going. If he went out, it was either to work or the security would go with. I wouldn't generally go. In fact, I don't think I went out with him at all in Australia.
And you didn't go out with Mr. Depp at all when he was in Australia, correct?
I don't recall it. I saw him on set once or twice, yeah.
So you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing in Australia unless you saw him at the house or on set, is that right?
I saw him at the house, yes, every day.
But you don't know what Mr. Depp was doing when he left the house, correct?
Generally going to work on Pirates of the Caribbean 5 filming, yes.
But were you with him?
No, but the security with him, and I had to liaise with him for when he would go and when he would come back for the driver, etc. But
you weren't there when Mr. Depp left the house, correct?
Generally, I didn't leave the house with Mr. Depp on those days, no.
And I just want to make sure, I want to be clear, there were two kind of periods that Mr. Depp was in Australia in 2015, right?
Sorry, say again.
Mr. Depp was in Australia from sometime in February 2015 until about March 8th, March 9th, when he injured his finger, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
And then Mr. Depp left Australia too, correct?
At some point he flew to LA, yes.
And then Mr. Depp returned to Australia on April 21st, right?
Okay, that sounds about that time. I don't know the specific date, I don't recall.
And the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, right?
Objection, foundation, speculation.
I didn't get, oh, sorry.
His objection.
you recall testifying to that in the UK?
I'll overrule
Which
the
bit,
objection
sorry?
if you can answer it.
That the filming of Pirates of the Caribbean 5 continued filming on April 21st, 2015.
I wasn't involved in the filming schedule. I didn't know when it resumed, to be honest. I knew Mr. Depp would come back to resume filming, for sure.
You didn't live with Mr. Depp in his house in Australia, correct?
Live with? No, I wasn't resident there.
Now, when you arrived at the house, you saw a significant amount of damage, correct?
Yes, through the course of, after I arrived, yeah.
Okay. And the scene was chaos, correct?
Chaos, I mean, there was a fair amount of damage.
The house was wrecked,
There was a lot of damage in the house, yes.
and the house was not in a good state, correct?
Asked and
There
answered.
was a lot of damage throughout the
You
house.
got to object first, and then you have your objection,
Yeah.
Mr. Mars.
Objection,
Stand, and it
yeah.
helps. Okay. I'll overrule the objection. Go ahead. Next question.
Okay. And you said there was glass on the floor, correct?
In a few areas, mainly predominantly in the bar, yes. Down in the lower ground floor, correct.
Okay, and there was blood on the walls, correct?
In various places, blood on the floor, blood on the walls.
And there was blood on the walls throughout the 3 stories of the house, isn't that right?
No, I wouldn't say that was the extent of it. There were smears up the staircase going up to the master from the main level. There were smears and drips on the carpet.
So there were smears from the master level up to the bedroom area? I mean, from the main level up to the bedroom area, is that right?
Up to the 3rd floor, yes.
Like someone had walked from the main floor up to the bedroom floor, correct?
There was blood going up the steps, up on the staircase, and some on the walls, smears where you might have done that.
As if someone was walking from the main level up to the master bedroom, correct? Is that what the blood was like?
Yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Okay.
Or down. I mean,
Up or
there was
down, but
blood
from the
on
main
that
level to
staircase.
from the main level to the 3rd floor, correct?
Correct, yes.
And you said the sofas were damaged, is that right?
One sofa in that sitting room, which was just off the kitchen, was quite an open plan thing. So off that, there was a sofa with a large TV on a wall-mounted TV in front of that sofa.
And the sofa was on the main level, correct?
Correct, just by the main kitchen, exactly.
And where the sofa was damaged, was that with what?
Blood.
Blood. Okay. And the lights were damaged?
Some lamps, a couple of lamps, yes.
Okay. And there were bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge, correct?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Did you see bottles of alcohol in and out of the fridge?
Yes, I mean, there was, I don't completely understand what you mean.
You saw that, correct?
There was alcohol bottles, yes. There was, in the fridge, I mean, there may have been a bottle of wine, I don't know.
And the floors were ruined, correct?
Ruined, I mean, there was a lot of damage on the floor, down in the bar area, and the staircase, and on the main floor area, on the wooden parquet floor, correct.
And the floors were going to have to be sanded, correct?
I eventually got them sanded, yes.
Okay. And you were there, I think you testified it took you about 12 to 13 hours in the house cleaning up, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you said that is it your testimony that you didn't see any of the paintings damaged?
The existing paintings from the owners from the house, no, none of them were damaged.
You didn't see any paintings with a painting of a penis drawn on it?
I did not, and thankfully that was something I didn't have to replace.
Do you know if anyone else
any
saw
painting.
Objection, speculation.
I mean, I would have seen it.
There's objections.
Oh,
Can you
I'm
just
so
need to
sorry.
stop? That's all
I'm
right.
sorry.
All right, if you stand, we can see you better when you do that.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Okay. And you said that Jerry Judge was at the house, correct?
Correct.
And he's the head of Mr. Depp's security, correct?
Correct.
And Dr. Kipper was at the house?
Yes, he was.
And Debbie Lloyd was at the house as well, correct?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Now, you understood that Mr. Judge saw scratches on Ms. Heard on March 8th, correct?
Objection, hearsay, speculation, foundation.
All right. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Did you have, the cleaning lady was going to be coming to the house, correct?
The housekeeper,
Yes, the housekeeper.
Adele, the resident housekeeper. Yes, she was going to be. I mean, yes, she was employed through the week. Again, she wasn't there on weekends.
There was concern about the cleaning lady coming to the house and seeing everything that was in the house, correct?
Objection, speculation, foundation, vague.
I'll allow it if you can answer it. You can answer it.
Thank you. Concern, sorry. what
There
do
was
you-
concern about the cleaning lady coming to the house and seeing all the damage that had been done, correct?
I know that when I left to fly to LA with Miss Heard, I told both the chef and the housekeeper they didn't need to be coming to the house because Miss Heard, essentially the principals weren't there. Mr. Depp wasn't there. Miss Heard was obviously with me at that point. So I said they didn't need to come to the house.
Isn't it true that you told Mr. Judge that you thought you could get the cleaning lady to swear to silence about what the house looked like?
Objection, hearsay.
It's his own statement.
His own statement. I'll allow it.
Isn't it true that you told Mr. Judge that you thought you could get the cleaning lady to swear to silence about what the house looked like?
I think I probably made a comment about, you know, I should just come back and deal with this myself, if that's what you mean, and just get cleaned up.
And make sure that she wouldn't say anything, correct?
I don't know. I trusted her and the chef anyway. They were good team members.
As the house manager, part of your job is you said you work with high profile people, correct?
High profile, high net worth, I think is what I actually said.
Would you agree that one part of your job is to keep things discreet for your clients?
Of course, it's part of my job. Trust and discretion, yeah.
And Mr. Depp was your client, right?
I'd worked on an assignment on those occasions, yes, but I was self-employed at the time, yeah.
But in March 8th, 2015 in Australia, Mr. Depp was your client, correct?
Correct, essentially, yeah. And Miss Heard, both of them the principals.
Who paid, and do you know who paid for your services?
As I said before, I was paid through Disney, who were making the Pirates of the Caribbean, their production company, which I believe was called Herschel.
Okay. And can we put up Defendants Exhibit 377, which is already in evidence?
All right. You gotta put on, that's here.
Mr. King, do you see Defendants Exhibit 377 in front of you?
I do, yes.
And do you recognize this as a lampshade that was in the house in Australia on March 8th, 2015?
Yes, it was, I believe, one of the lampshades that was missing from one of the lamps.
Okay. And did you see this painting on the lampshade?
I did, yeah. It was part of my walk around to see what...
And what floor was the lampshade on?
This was on where the art studio was, on that main level.
Yeah, so on the main level, okay.
Yes. Excuse me.
And did you notice that it was dark paint that was on the lampshade?
It certainly looked like it, yes.
Okay. And did you take this picture?
I believe I did. Yeah, without seeing the metadata.
Okay. And can we put up Defendants Exhibit 374, please? And you recognize Defendants Exhibit 374 as a mirror that was in the house in Australia on March 8th, 2015, correct?
Yes, I do.
And this mirror was in the bathroom, correct?
Correct. There were two mirrors in the bathroom above each sink.
And this was on the top floor, correct?
The master bathroom,
The master
essentially.
bathroom. And the master bathroom, just so I'm clear, was on the top floor,
Top
right?
floor, correct.
And this painting said starring Billy Bob, is that right? Is that what you recall?
Yeah, I don't know. I was writing.
Okay. And was this in the writing, was it in paint?
I believe it was the same paint, the oil paint that was used on the other mirror that we saw earlier.
Okay. And did you take this picture?
Again, possible. I haven't seen the metadata, but yes, probably.
And let's put back up Defendants Exhibit 375. This writing was also in the master bathroom, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And could you tell if the black paint was on top of the red or under the red?
I didn't really analyze it, to be honest. I just knew I was going to have to clean it up at some point.
Right, your whole concern was just cleaning up the house, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you don't know who wrote what on the mirror, correct?
No, I know that one was oil paint and the other red writing was lipstick.
And lipstick, you're not even sure of that. You just saw it was something sticky. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure it's waxy, you know, like
Waxy.
lipstick-like, same as the oil paint was oil paint-like.
Okay. Did you see paint? Did you see also any writing in blood?
Writing, not necessarily.
Okay. Now, did you help when Miss Heard was leaving to go back to LA? You were with her, correct?
Correct.
Did you help her pack?
I think I may have done at that point. Yes, I think I did.
Did you see weren't Miss Heard's clothes ruined?
I didn't see any ruined clothes.
There wasn't paint on her clothes?
Not that I could see. Not so much. You know, not at that point of packing. I mean.
There was paint in the tub, correct?
Say again, sorry.
There was paint in the tub in the bathroom, correct?
I don't recall that.
You don't recall one way or the other?
I don't recall being paint in the tub.
And it's your testimony that there was no paint or blood on Miss Heard's clothes? Is that what you're saying?
Asked and
I
answered.
don't.
No, I'll allow.
Okay. Now, you said you were in charge of the cleanup, correct?
Yes, it was my responsibility. The house was.
And you were working with Mr. Judge and cleaning up the house, is that right?
On the day that I arrived there?
Yes.
Mr. Judge did help me at some point. Yes, okay. Sweeping up glass, etc. And
was there photos taken of more than the three pictures you've been shown?
Photos
of the house.
By whom?
Did you take any pictures of the house?
I took a few, yeah, I mean, yes.
And did you take pictures other than the three that we saw?
I think I probably did as I was going around.
Do you know who you gave those pictures to?
No.
Do you know what you took the photos with?
My phone.
And who would you have sent those photos to?
And send them to anybody at that point.
You just kept them?
Yes.
Did you show the photos to anyone?
No.
Do you still have the photos?
Yes.
What are they on your phone still?
They're on one of my devices, yes.
Okay. Did you take a photo of the vodka bottle that you said was broken?
Yes.
And you have that photo?
Yes.
Okay, and you didn't give that to anybody?
There are a fair few photos. I can show it to you now if you want.
How many photos did you have on your phone?
I don't remember the number, but probably more than 10.
Did anyone ever ask you for the photos?
Several of them, yes. Yes.
Did you give them to the people who asked?
Some of them, yes.
Not all of them?
I don't recall how many.
Who asked you for the photos?
I was involved in a case in London a couple of years ago.
Did you give the photo of the vodka bottle to the people that you were involved in the case in London?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Say again, sorry.
Did you give a photo of the vodka bottle to the people you were working with in London?
I don't recall which photos I given.
So did you take photos of the walls?
The walls, certainly the smears of the blood and the damage, the plaster damage, yes.
You took photos of the walls with blood on it, is that right?
Yes.
And you took photos of the plaster, right, that was damaged?
At the end of the bar and in the bar, behind the bar, by the sink, yes.
And did you take photos of the ping pong table that you said was broken?
Yes, as part of the bar area, I'm
Did
sure.
you take photos of, there was a glass table that was broken too, correct?
A glass table? I don't recall a glass table.
Okay. Did you take photos of all the damage that was around the house?
Probably most of it, yes.
Okay. And the only time you gave those photos to anyone, you're saying, was in the UK case a couple years back?
I'd never shared them with anybody else, yes.
Okay. And it costs about $75,000 to clean up the damage, isn't that right?
I don't know the exact cost. I think I calculated at the time, you know, after all the vendors had been in and done their thing, it's about 50,000, I seem to recall.
Okay. Now, you said you flew back to Australia with Ms. Heard, correct?
I didn't fly back with
I
Ms.
mean,
Heard.
flew back to LA from Australia, thank you, with Ms. Heard, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you were asleep for most of the flight, correct?
For a lot of it, I think it's a 14-hour flight, so I think we both slept for quite a lot of it, yeah.
You were exhausted from the 13 hours you were working on the house, right?
Correct.
All right. And your testimony was that Ms. Heard said to you, have you ever been so angry with someone that you just lost it, correct?
After I'd asked, so, you know, what happened?
But you didn't inquire as to what she was referring to, right?
I mean, by what happened, it was pretty clear what I was referring to.
Let me ask again. You did not inquire as to what she was referring to, did you?
With her answer,
Correct.
she didn't inquire as to my reason for asking, but it was pretty obvious to both of us what I was asking and what her reply was regarding.
Do you have the copy?
Yes, that's fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. King, you testified on behalf of Mr. Depp in the UK, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you provided 2 witness statements, correct?
Correct.
And then you provided testimony in court, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if you take a look at page 1103 of your testimony, you see how the pages go in 4s?
Yeah. No.
Do you see it's actually on the
Bottom right?
bottom right? You see that?
Yeah, got it.
And if you actually look at, you see, starting at the bottom of 1102, this was a statement when you said you did not, you say, Ms. Heard asked you, have you ever been so angry with anyone that you lost it? Your answer, that's correct. And you specifically remember that, do you? Yes. You said it never happened to you. Answer, that is correct. Question, she did not, I mean, if it was said, nothing was said about who she was talking about, was it? Answer, she was asking me a question. Question, she was asking you a question. Answer, yes. Question, you did not inquire as to what she was referring to, did you? I do not recall asking. I know that she was asking for a question and I gave her an answer. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, and that was your testimony you gave in the UK 2 years ago, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't know what Ms. Heard was talking about when she made that statement, correct? You don't know if she was inquiring, that she was making that statement about Mr. Depp, right?
Like I said, I'd asked the question, what happened, referring to the house, and she gave me that answer. So I think we were both, it was pretty clear to both of us what we were talking about. I mean,
And then you went to sleep.
at that point.
And then you went to sleep, and then you had the flight the rest of the.
Sometime after that, yeah.
Okay. Now, and you said you saw Miss Heard with cuts on her arm. Is that right? On the flight.
That's right. Towards the end of the flight, yeah.
Okay. If we could put up 376G. Do you recognize this picture?
I've not seen this picture before.
Were these the cuts? Did you see cuts like this on Miss Heard?
Is that Miss Heard?
Why don't we put up 376C? Do you recognize the person in that picture?
That's Miss Heard.
All right. And did you see cuts like that, which are on her left arm?
Similar to that, long, like I described earlier, long, thin cuts, pretty uniform cuts.
These were the cut. The cuts were like this on her kind of wrist, forearm area. Is that right?
I don't know what the date of this photograph is, but they look pretty uniform like they do here, yes.
Okay. I'd like to enter 376C into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay,
I don't.
376C in evidence.
Was it?
Nope, now you keep changing.
And can we put back up 376G? Seeing 376C, is this consistent with the scratches on 376G? Are these consistent with the scratches you saw on Miss Heard?
I don't see a date. Is that the same time? Is that the same date?
Oh, my question is, are the scratches similar to what you saw on Miss Heard?
These are uniform, kind of long, thin scratches, yes.
I'd like to enter
scratches.
376G into evidence.
Any objection?
I mean, foundation, he hasn't authenticated the document through this witness.
I mean, I'm just asking if the pictures are consistent with
I'll
what he's.
allow it 376G in evidence.
And can you publish it, please?
It is.
Thank you. Okay. Now, you were in the house, you said, for 12 to 13 hours on March 8th, 2015, correct?
Correct, going into March 9th, 2015.
Okay. And you spoke to Mr. Judge when you were in the house, correct?
You had interaction with Mr. Judge, yes.
And you had interaction with Dr. Kipper when you were in the house, correct?
Correct.
And you had interaction with Debbie Lloyd when you were in the house, correct?
Yes, briefly.
Okay. And isn't it true that in the entire time you were there, you were not informed as to what caused damage to Mr. Depp's finger on March 8th?
Objection, hearsay.
I'm asking what he wasn't told.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
You didn't know what could cause damage to Mr. Depp's hand while you were there on March 8th, correct?
Dr. Kipper told me he sustained an injury on one of his fingers.
Objection, hearsay.
Wait, you asked the question.
Oh,
Next question.
okay, you said he sustained an injury to his finger,
Yes,
but you don't know what caused the injury to his finger.
one of
correct?
his fingers.
But you don't know you don't know how his finger was injured,
I
correct?
don't think anybody mentioned it to me at that time.
Right, no one mentioned it to you at that time, correct?
I don't
Same objection, Your Honor,
recall.
hearsay.
Sorry, I'll allow it. Next question. He answered it.
Now, you understand that there was a phone in the house that was recording during the cleanup, correct?
Sorry, I didn't hear all of that.
Did you come to understand that there was a phone in the house that was recording as people were cleaning up?
At that time, no.
But you now know that there was a phone that was recording people as they were cleaning up, correct?
Objection, foundation, hearsay.
I'm not asking for particular statements.
That's fine. Out loud if he knows.
I believe that came up somewhere later on. At that time, I wasn't aware, but I believe I became aware of it later, yes.
Okay. I would like to put up Defendants 378. It's a recording, and I want to play a couple of times. 12:07 through 13:19.
Is that the only segment you wish to have?
And then I would also I'd also like to play 1951 through 21:38.
And is this going to be used again, or is this,
I think it would be A.
okay, 378A, any objection to 378A?
Yes, Your Honor, we do have an objection. I believe this is a recording that has the voices of people other than Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, and on that basis, it's hearsay.
Okay.
Unless I'm incorrect about which document we're talking about.
Can we
Sure.
Excuse me, sorry about that. Going back to the photos that you took for a moment of that damage in the house. You recall giving that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. Did Mr. Depp ask you for the photos?
No.
Did you give the photos to counsel for Mr. Depp?
Some of them, yes. Yeah.
Did you withhold any photos for Mr. Depp or his counsel?
Didn't withhold any photos from anybody. I didn't withhold.
Did you give all of the photos you have on your phone to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
Not all of the photos on my phone, no.
All the photos of the damage that occurred on March 8th, 2015?
Probably not all of them. I don't think so, no.
You didn't give them all. You didn't give them all to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
I don't believe I gave all of the photos.
Why not?
Because there are a decent amount of them. I mean,
So you picked and chose what photos you were going to give to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
I gave an amount of photos to them.
Do you know how many photos you gave to Mr. Depp and his counsel?
I don't know precisely, no.
Could you give an estimate as to how many photos you gave?
I really can't. No, an amount. I don't recall how many.
More than 3?
Yes.
More than 10?
Possibly more than 10. Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
Between 10 and 20?
Objection.
Possible.
Speculation.
I mean,
Hasn't been answered.
Overruled, I'll allow it.
Do you know?
sorry.
She overruled you.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Possibly more than 10. Yeah.
But somewhere between 10 and 20, is that right?
Possibly. I honestly don't know.
Could it be more than 20?
I don't think so.
Did Mr. Depp's counsel ask for all the photos?
I don't recall.
You don't recall one way or the other what they asked for?
I gave them some photos. I don't recall how many were asked for, requested.
And those were requested in 2020?
Correct. Prior to
Prior to the UK
that, yes.
trial? Did they ask for them in this case?
I believe I supplied some for this case also, yeah.
You supplied photos for this case to Mr. Depp's counsel?
I believe I did.
Okay. And was that about the between 10 and 20 photos that you're talking about?
I don't remember how many for this.
But was it the same amount of photos that you gave to the Mr. Depp's counsel in the UK?
I don't know if it was the same amount. I don't recall.
Did Mr. Depp's counsel in this case ask for all the photos you had of the damage of March 8th, 2015?
All of the photos? I don't think they requested all of the photos.
They didn't ask for all the photos you had of that damage?
I don't know if they requested them all.
Okay. Was it Mr. Waldman who asked you for the photos?
Originally, I don't remember who called it. Shillings. Were they,
Did Mr. Waldman ever ask you for the photos?
I don't know if he asked me specifically. If he was part of that team, I assume so.
And you spoke to Mr. Waldman, is that right?
I did a couple of years ago, yeah.
Okay, and he was part of the team that was asking for the evidence you had of what occurred in Australia in 2015, is that right?
He was part of that team, as I understood it, yeah.
Okay, and as part of that team, he and others were asking for photos from Australia from March 8th, 2015, is that right?
They requested them at some point, some of them.
And you provided, and that's when you provided the 10 to 20 photos, is that right?
The photos, correct.
Okay, and then was there a separate counsel that asked you for the photos in this case?
Yes.
There was?
Yeah, I mean, it was essentially the same.
Who was it that asked you for photos in this case?
I don't recall a name specifically.
Was it a man or a woman?
I don't. I just part of the team. I don't recall.
Okay. And when did they make that request?
When? I don't know a date. I don't know specifically.
You know what year?
This year, last year? I mean, prior to this, obviously.
So it could have been in 2022 that they asked you for the photos?
I think it was prior to that. I don't recall.
So maybe late 2021 or early 2022, is that what you're saying?
Honestly, don't recall which part of the year.
But it's either 2021 or 2022, is that right?
I would imagine that's probably correct.
Okay. And you gave them some of the photos you had?
As I just said, yes.
Okay, but not all of them.
Correct.
So do you have more than 10 to 20 photos on your phone of the damage that occurred in Australia?
Again, I don't recall the amount.
But you have a larger amount on your phone than what you provided to Mr. Depp's counsel, is that right?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered. Cumulative.
I'll sustain the objection. It was asked and answered.
Okay. Going to London for a couple minutes. You didn't live at the house in London, correct?
I didn't live there, correct.
Okay. Do you know if Miss Heard had friends over to the house in London?
She did. They came to stay. Yes.
And they stayed from September 9th through September 22nd, 2014, correct?
I don't remember the duration, but that's possible.
Okay. And they were literally staying at the house, correct?
They were accommodated at the house, correct.
Right. And so you don't know who was drinking the bottles of wine that were brought into the house, correct?
At which point, what do you mean?
When Miss Heard's friends were there, you don't know who was drinking the wine.
Oh, they were all enjoying the wine, for
They
sure.
were all drinking the wine.
I took care of them as I would take care of any guests that came into any house.
And wasn't it 5 to 7 guests that were at the house with Miss Heard?
I don't remember the number. It sounds about right.
Okay. And then at the end of the night, there was 1 or 2 bottles of wine finished, right?
When Mr. Depp and Miss Heard were there on their own, there was certainly that amount, yes.
But do you know how many? You don't know how many. You don't know how many bottles were there when it was Miss Heard and her friends, correct?
But I would say more.
You don't know. But you don't know one way or the other, right?
I don't recall the count, but certainly more than when there were just 2 of them in the house, because
you don't
there
know-
were
but you
7
don't-
extra people or 5 people.
But you don't know the count.
Precisely, no, I don't
And
recall.
do you know how much time Miss Heard was in London with Mr. Depp, not with her friends?
A fair amount of that time. I
what do you-
don't recall days, no, I don't recall.
So they were there for a month, correct?
Thereabouts, yeah.
And I mean, when I say they, Miss Heard and Mr. Depp were in London for about a month, right?
Correct, around about a month.
And wasn't it true that for about 2 to 3 weeks, Miss Heard's friends were also staying in London?
I don't think 2 or 3 weeks. I don't recall, but I don't think it was that long.
You don't know one way or the other, right?
I don't think it was that long. I
But
think,
you don't have anything to base that on, right? Just what your memory is saying.
correct.
Okay. And you don't know what happened in London when you weren't there, correct?
You mean after I'd left of an evening?
Yeah.
Usually the chef was there still when I left each evening, Russell, who would take care of dinner and leave later that each night.
And then after the chef left, you don't know what happened in the house, correct?
I wasn't there.
Right. And you don't know for certain whether Mr. Depp drank wine or not in London, right?
I don't believe so. There's usually, when it was just the 2 of them in the house, there was usually only 1 glass in the morning, either on the kitchen sink or on the bedside stand in the master bedroom.
But you don't know who drank from that. You don't know who drank from that glass when you weren't there, right?
When I wasn't there, correct, but when I usually left the house, I'd already poured Miss Heard a glass of wine before I left, invariably.
But once you left, you don't know if Mr. Depp drank wine or not, correct?
I wasn't there after I left.
Okay. And you don't know what started the fights you talked about in London, correct? Other than that one you said you heard about her hand.
The second one that I described, I was in the vicinity. I heard the first comment of this. That was the start of that argument.
And you don't actually know if there was an argument before what you heard, right?
That evening, I didn't hear another one. I'll put it that way. It started in that room as I described earlier.
And you don't know what happened in Australia also between March 5th and March 8th, correct?
The 6th, I left on Friday the 6th was when I left for the weekend.
Okay, so between Friday the 6th and when you got to the house on March 8th, you don't know what happened in
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. And you never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time, right?
Sorry, say again.
You never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time, correct?
Beyond sort of finger prodding and violent, I didn't see either of them be violent towards each other.
You never saw Miss Heard be violent at any time, right?
I didn't see her be violent, depending on your...
I can show you a witness statement where you said you never saw Ms. Heard be violent at any time.
Okay, violence, yes, I didn't see violence per se.
All right, thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, redirect.
Thank you.
Mr. King, have you ever been employed by Mr. Depp?
No,
So in each of these situations where you've been around Mr. Depp, you've always been employed by somebody else?
correct.
All right, I'll sustain as to leading. I'll strike the answer. Next question.
Are you based anywhere other than the UK? Where do you live?
I live in central London.
Have you ever lived anywhere else?
Sustain the objection. Next question.
We heard some discussion on cross about photos, which I suspect you remember. Why did you take the photos of the property damage in Australia?
As I do, and a lot of my jobs and various assignments and jobs through the years, I take photos as points of reference for whatever reason. I mean, if I'm packing suitcases up and they're going to be in transit and I'm not with the suitcases, I'll take a picture of contents, and when I send stuff so I know it's gone and what's gone, I take pictures as points of reference. I sometimes take pictures of table settings that I've done or which I know I can use later on as reference.
Were the photos of property damage in Australia the first photos that you had taken in the course of working with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
Objection leading.
All right, I'll sustain as to leading. Next question.
Had you ever taken photos before?
Yes.
What kinds of things had you taken photos of?
In London, reference points and dinner table settings. Sometimes Mr. Depp would write notes for Ms. Heard. He'd leave notes on the sort of kitchen table when he left for work. I believe I took pictures of those. They were, there, things like that. Just setups of, once I set up houses, it's always good to take photos of rooms so I can cross-reference later on if I need to.
Did Ms. Heard or her counsel ever ask you for photos of any of the photos you took in Australia?
No.
I'll sustain as to leading. Next question.
Can I see Plaintiff's Exhibit 159? And I think this is a multi-page document. Can you scroll through? I think we have 3 pages here. Mr. King, do you recognize this document?
Yes, it's the floor plan of the house in Australia.
And do you recall on cross-examination you were asked to kind of describe where some of the property damage was?
Yes.
So right now on the screen in front of you,
Yeah.
which floor would you say this is?
This is the top floor with the master suite and 2 other bedrooms.
Okay. And I believe counsel asked you if there was blood in one of the bathrooms or one of the bathtubs. Do you recall that?
Yes, they did ask that.
Would that have been on this floor?
I think they were referring to the master tub. I think that's what he said.
Okay. So can you mark on the screen where that would have been?
The master tub? It's over here. Can I just dot it? How
I
does
think
that
you just
work?
dotted, yes.
Okay, so that Looks like the master tub to me.
And just to clarify, did you recall seeing any blood or damage there?
In the tub, no.
Okay. Can you mark for us on the screen where you did see the damage that was discussed on cross?
The mirrors, can I dab on here again?
Sure.
Yeah, so these are the sinks. The two mirrors were above each, the mirror above each sink.
Okay. Can we scroll up to the page prior? And can you point out for us on this page, well, first of all, which floor is this?
This is the main level floor, essentially the second floor if you want.
Okay. And can you point out for us here on this map which of where the property damage was?
Yes. How many dabs am I allowed? Around here, kitchen area. This was the TV, the wall-mounted TV on. I ran out of dabs.
And I apologize, actually, Your Honor. Can we move this into evidence?
Any objection to 159? No objection. All right, 159 in evidence.
Can we publish this to the jury?
Okay.
So, Mr. King, I apologize for interrupting you. So you were just pointing out where on the, I think this is the second floor?
Yes, essentially the main level, yeah.
Okay, so other than these three dots, do you recall any other places where there was damage?
Yes, where it says family room, there was the TV was wall mounted on that wall in between family and lounge. The sofa was approximately where you've got the red square, red rectangle now, facing towards the TV. The lounge, as you, sorry, too quick. The lounge was essentially the art studio, and the bedrooms over to the left there, where the damaged lamp and shade, blood on the duvet, etc. that I described.
Okay, and then let's go to the first page. And which floor is this?
This is the lower ground floor.
Okay, and can you point out for us, did you find the finger on this floor?
Correct.
Can you point out to us where you found the finger?
Yes, I can. Right here. Ah, there we go. It's the end of the bar. It was on the tiled floor below that end of the bar.
Okay, and any other significant property damage that you want to point out on this floor?
Yes, as I said, this was the, can I dab again? Yeah, so that was the most part of the broken glass. That's where the Stolichnaya bottle was, below that bar by the bar stools. There were 3 bar stools that you could sit at there. On this back wall here, there was plaster damage. Over here above the sink, or to the side of the sink, was more plaster damage on the walls. Behind the bar, that mirror was cracked, broken. Ping pong table was around there, collapsed on the floor. And around those 3 dots there, I'm going to put another one. That was the spillages as well, that smelt like alcohol to me, the puddles of alcohol.
Is that it?
I mean, that was the most part of the damage around that area, in front of the bar especially. There was, I mean, as I said, there were blood drips around that white cream-coloured tiled floor in the games room. And this is the staircase down. It was this side that the chip was out of the stone step. And if I can get another dab in there, right about in the center of that bar, the chunk out of the side of the counter, bar top.
How many exits are there on the ground floor?
Well, all of these were exits, you know, all these, my office was off over here. I think you can just see out, it says study, big glass sliding door. The gym had an exit up here. This went into the garage. There was a button you could press for the automatic doors to come up. The laundry area, which is right here, this is actually an exit out into the yard, essentially. The gym, all of those rooms had an exit.
Okay. Other than Mr. Depp's counsel, did anybody else ever ask to see your photos?
I'll allow it.
No.
All right. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness subject to recall? All right, sir, since you're subject to recall, it's important that you do not discuss your testimony with anybody and do not pay attention to the trial and don't watch anything about the trial, okay?
Of course.